to welcome you all here today. This is our fourth multidisciplinary colloquium that's been offered by the Bridge program. And so I'll just very briefly talk a little bit about the program that we offer here at Mason. The Bridge program is an opportunity for international graduate students who are interested in beginning their degree programs to start here at Mason and begin working directly on their master's level coursework, or PhD as the case may be. And these students work very hard in this program not only to really develop and learn in their own disciplines, but they also develop their own professionalism. They develop their language proficiency, and they look forward to really developing themselves into future graduate students and hopefully degree holders here at Mason. We are very proud to serve students here in the Bridge program, and we're very proud to take this opportunity today to really showcase the outstanding work that they've worked on over the past year. All of the presenters that you will see today have been here at Mason, and this is their second semester, and many of them are looking forward to completing their degree programs in the hopes of graduating sometime next year, hopefully. Yeah? Great, lots of nodding heads. So just for a second, what I'd like to do is just mention that the Center for International Student Access is the home of the Bridge program, and we've been here at Mason since fall 2010. And this is actually our fourth class of graduate students who come through the Bridge program. And so I just want to take a moment to recognize all of the faculty and staff who work together with the Bridge program. If you would please stand to be recognized. Thank you so very much for being here today. If it weren't for these fantastic folks, our students wouldn't be where they are today. So I wanted to take an opportunity to thank each and every one of them for all the hard work they've done to support our students. And now I'll turn it over to Anna Habib, who's one of our English and Composition Rhetoric specialist, who is going to talk with you today a little bit about the course that supports today's presentation.
Thanks, Nicole. So the course that the students are in currently is called Pro 507, but it's a year-long course, starts in Provost 506. The title of the course is Graduate Communications Across the Disciplines. So it's a co-taught course between a linguist and a composition specialist. And it's supported by a communications specialist from the communications department. So Pro 506, the first semester of the course, is focused a lot on language development, and Pro 507 is focused on professional development. And so the students gain a lot of the language foundation skills in Pro 506 and then apply them in Pro 507 as they develop their professional skills. So the project that you are basically here to witness is a presentation, a conference presentation that the students worked on throughout the course of the semester. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Karen Mallett, who is the co-teacher for this course, the linguist, and she'll talk a little bit about this presentation and the colloquium.
Did you all get a program book? We are so excited to hear your presentations today, Bridge students. What you see on the cover is the flyer for the colloquium today, and what we hope you notice is the title or the theme of this colloquium, which is Toward International Scholarship, Exploring Interdisciplinary and Cross-Cultural Research Questions. Students will be presenting today on their secondary research. They are budding researchers, they're beginning researchers, and so this is the start of their research journey of the path that they hope to pursue for the year and perhaps years ahead. Many times we have students who start getting curious about a question, explore it a little bit through this course, and then pursue it as a master's level thesis or as their letter launching them into a PhD program. Some of them take their research back to their workplaces in other countries or here in the US and have a different lens or a different perspective on the work that they do in the field, whether here in the US or overseas. So we are here to support you. We are here happily to witness your presentations, and we look forward to knowing where this research takes you in the years ahead. I also wanted to draw your attention to the second page of the program, which is the call for proposals, or CFP, that we designed for the students in this course. As scholars, of course, we all like to look at a CFP in the field, in our various fields, and feel like the designers of that call were thinking of us and our research when they wrote that call, to feel that connection with what's needed or what's being called for in the field. And so we crafted, Anna and I crafted this CFP in order to give our students that experience of reading a CFP and feeling like I can contribute, I belong, I'm a part of this community. The only part we really wanted to highlight here is in that first paragraph. I just want to read for you the second sentence. It says, in recognition of international graduate students, the CISA International Multidisciplinary Colloquium serves to highlight and value their potential leadership qualities, including multilingualism, translingualism, internationalism, and entrepreneurship. CISA Bridge students are tomorrow's leaders. And we just want to thank you for having the courage to be here at George Mason to pursue your master's degree or your PhD and to present to us today. So thank you. And on that note, we also wanted to introduce briefly the Bridge Scholars Program. Caitlin, you have an interesting component to the Bridge program. And Dr. Caitlin Holmes.
Great. One of the many benefits of participating in the Bridge program is the mentorship program that we have as a part of going through this first year of graduate study. I think that one of the things that research has shown repeatedly is that peer mentorship and disciplinary mentorship is proven in encouraging and graduate student persistence to complete degree, and that's been proven at both the master's and the PhD level. So mentorship is something that's really crucial to surviving the very difficult process of matriculating through graduate study. And so in response, the wonderful folks who started the curriculum and the program for Bridge developed the Bridge Scholars Program. And if you turn to the last page of your handout, you'll see a brief program description as well as some information about the Bridge Scholars who are working with this current cohort of Bridge students. So first of all, the Bridge Scholars Program is a way of finding a disciplinary mentor who could be another international student or domestic student who is advanced in their scholarly pursuits to mentor and guide our students with the stuff that we really can't help them with. For as much as we might be specialists in language and composition and communication, we are not specialists in telecommunication. So what we are able to do is match up students with these disciplinary mentors who then help them as they work on these projects. These Bridge Scholars are given a scholarship to work with these students, and that goes directly back into supporting the Mason community and this international culture that we're trying to build. And you can see here the 4 students that have been mentoring our scholars here. And the first one is Dan Beltry, who's not here unfortunately, but he's a student of bioinformatics, and he is actually defending his dissertation prospectus this week, so that's probably why he's not here. And he has been working with our statistics students. He has a variety of experience, but he has actually taught extensively abroad in Japan, working with teaching English as well. Lizette Armstrong has been working with our arts management students, and she is just now finishing her degree and her teaching certificate in music education. So she'll be leaving us, which is very sad. Adam Rothenberger is he's pursuing his doctorate in music arts, and he is working with our graphic design student, but he's connected all over the East Coast in terms of artists and graphic designers, and just has some great connections. And then Bizad Kusha is an electrical engineering student who is actually making the switch into IT, and he is an international scholar himself. He comes from Iran, has lived and studied in Germany, and now is living and studying in the US. So he's really a great support for our telecommunications student, and he's been given several awards since he's been here as well for his studies. So we have a strong group of students to help guide our wonderful Bridge students through the rest of their process. So hopefully you found that they've been useful to you, and we have another large cohort coming through with even more Bridge scholars being needed. So if you know of anyone who is an excellent graduate student that could potentially help assist, we'd love to hear about it. So thank you all.
I just wanted to say a couple of things before we get started with our first presenter. I think you should all have note cards. If you have a question that you would like to contribute at the end but don't have time to ask our presenters, please do write the question on the note card, or a comment that we can give to our students at the end. That would be really great. The other thing, two more things I want to say. One is, which wasn't mentioned earlier, is that our students all read scholarship in both their native language and in English. So they incorporated academic articles and scholarly articles from both languages, which isn't something all of us can say we can do. And that was really amazing and very interesting to be a part of. And finally, Lindsay, who has stepped out, I wanted to thank her for this, but I'll thank her later. Lindsay helped coordinate this whole event, put this together, and it's always been so wonderful to work with her, so I just wanted to thank her. All right, I think we are ready for Yiying, and I think James is going to introduce her. Thank you.
Please join me in welcoming our first presenter, Ms. Yiying Dong. Yiying received her bachelor's degree from Ziming University of Media and Communications, China, in literature, film, and drama in 2012. Since graduating in 2012, she has been working as a journalist, editing traditional culture and performing arts section of the Peer Media Group newspaper of the Zhejiang province. Currently, Yiying is an arts management graduate student here at George Mason University. She is interested in the subfield of folkloric visual and performing arts. In light of this interest, she is beginning her research study in analyzing the reasons for the decline of the Chinese traditional performing arts in China. Her subject today is the decline of Chinese traditional performing arts, internal and external factors. Please welcome Yiying.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming here. I'm Yiying. My major is arts management. Today, I'd like to talk something about the decline of the Chinese traditional performing arts with internal and external factors. This picture is the most famous kind of the Chinese traditional performing arts, Peking opera, which is also the quintessence of it. I suppose that you are not very familiar with Chinese performing arts, especially about the traditional ones. So firstly, I want to give you a basic introduction about what are the Chinese traditional performing arts. These three pictures represent the most famous kind of the Chinese traditional performing arts, which are Peking opera, Yu opera, and Yue opera. Among them, Peking opera is regarded as the national opera in China, for it has a long history and a complete system of stage performance. It is originally a local drama in Anhui province, and Yu opera is from Henan province, while Yue opera is from my hometown Zhejiang province, which is located in the east part of China. In order to better understand my topic, I will show you a short trailer about Peking opera, which from CCTV is a Chinese Central Television documentary. You could pay more attention to the clothes, makeup, and movements in the video.
I've had more than 19 concussions.
In this first documentary to trace the entire history of Peking opera, we examine its far-reaching influence on Chinese culture and international art. Previously untold stories from onstage and off will take you back in time. The story of the ups and downs of Peking opera is also the story of the trials and tribulations of the country.
Well, I was thinking, what's your feeling about watching this video? I guess most of you were thinking about that Peking opera is so meaningful to China, but why it is no longer so popular today in China. With this doubt, I want to speak in Chinese to describe the current issue of the Chinese traditional performing arts to you. And you could read the English version here, which has the same meaning with the Chinese. 在过去的20年里，有很大一部分中国人推崇西方表演艺术，而忽略了中国传统表演艺术。这是一个引起中国传统艺术文化衰落的导火线。从古到今，传统表演艺术在整个中国艺术文化范围中都占据着重要的地位。但是，随着时代的发展，传统表演艺术渐渐地失去了主导地位，也不像以前那么受欢迎。这将是我们年轻一代在艺术上的损失。所以，阐述导致中国传统表演艺术走向没落的原因，可以分为内因和外因两部分。内因包括政治的影响、社会文化的影响和市场策略的影响；外因主要是西方表演艺术不断涌入中国的影响。After preliminary understanding of the current issue of the Chinese traditional performing arts, let's go directly into my research question. I was combining the existing research about internal and external factors to help arts managers in China find efficient ways to continue reviving the Chinese traditional performing arts. So according to my research question, I would like to share my exploration and findings in these 4 parts. First of all, I prefer to use numbers to illustrate this problem. This picture is the Chinese National Center for the Performing Arts, which is a central place for presenting all different kinds of the Chinese performing arts forms. I thought it presented a lot of Chinese traditional performing arts, but which like Peking opera, Yu opera, and Yue opera, and so on. But the result is so surprising. Here is the data comparison of the Chinese traditional plays and the Western performing arts plays in the period from 2008 to 2013. We could find that the total number of the fixed collection plays in the Chinese National Center for the Performing Arts is 18. There has only one Chinese traditional plays, and most of the plays were adapted from Western performing arts. I consider the number of the Chinese traditional plays is one of the decline symptom of it, and also is a threat to the development of the Chinese traditional performing arts. In order to strengthen the first data analysis, this pie chart represents a different kind of the performing arts also in the Chinese National Center for the Performing Arts in the same period from 2008 to 2013. We can easily see that the Western opera occupies a dominant place with 75% of the total number, while the Peking opera as the most important kind of the Chinese traditional arts just represents 7.1% of the total quantity. So, specifically, I started my research from, I listed 4 hypotheses to research this problem. The 3 yellow ones are which contain cultural, politics, and marketing are the internal factors, while the brown one, Western influence, is external factor. To be specific, I started my research from internal factors of decline. I read more than 10 articles which are closely related to my research question, and when we're talking about the cultural influence, two professionals in the field of the Chinese traditional performing arts field, Fei and Sun, claim that there was a problematic system called cultural trends in the 20th century of China, because most of the performers prefer to simply use a Western plays to present by Chinese traditional performing styles, but neglecting the original meaning of them. So I think it is a problem, a big challenge in the development of the Chinese traditional performing arts. And when talking about the marketing influence, both of Zhang and Rentschler pointed out that a systematic marketing strategy will be helpful to the traditional performing arts to develop themselves. Because understanding the advantages and the drawbacks of the arts market in China is the first step for the traditional performing arts to develop. As for the politics influence, I want to clarify the open door policy for you firstly. The open door policy describes an economic policy which initiated by Deng Xiaoping, who was a politician and the reformist leader of the Communist Party of China in 1978 to open up China to the foreign business that wanted to invest in the country. This policy set into motion the economic transformations of modern China. The overall environment changed so much that the arts field obviously were influenced. A lot of new forms of Western performing arts form have swarmed into China and occupy the dominant place. In other words, this is also a big challenge for the development of our traditional performing arts. Having said this, I have to think about the external factors from Western influence. Famous Chinese scholar Du pointed out that in the early 1980s China, the Western performing arts had been popular, and until now, there are a lot of famous classical plays are presented in the National Center for the Performing Arts of China. The popularity of them even more than the traditional performing arts. These three pictures are the most popular Western dramas in recent years, which are Othello, Carmen, and Tosca. These three plays are all from Western performing arts. Therefore, combining with the previous exploration, I want to state the purpose of my research again is I want to help the arts managers in China to find efficient ways to continue reviving our traditional performing arts. Besides the existing research, I think scholars also can go out of the conventional thinking and take another look to make connections and keep trying to find new stances in the development of our traditional performing arts. Having said so much, I hope you have already understood the overall structure and the main content of my research. I want to make a conclusion about the obstacle for the development of the Chinese traditional performing arts, and also as a graduate student in the arts field, I listed some strategies for the Chinese traditional performing arts to develop. Firstly, our Chinese traditional performing arts have imbalance in cultural trend, so the arts managers in China should insist on the Chinese-based cultural trend to guide audiences to cherish our traditional performing arts. And second is Chinese arts managers should change old political ideologies, because in contemporary society, Chinese Chinese arts and culture policy aim to protect our traditional arts rather than restrict them, as well as reviving marketing strategies to make traditional arts more accessible to the younger generation. And thirdly, we're still facing weakness of the traditional performing arts market. So setting up the appropriate market mechanism is necessary, and also focus on the diversity of audiences. For example, arts managers should focus on the different age levels of audiences who are interested in the Chinese traditional performing arts. And also, the young generation will be one of the most important target audience in the future. And the last point is numerous imports of Western plays. Arts managers also should control the quantity of the imported Western plays and focus on reinforcing brand awareness of traditional performing arts, because they are one part of our unique symbol of our country. Thank you for your participation, and I hope my presentation can give you some inspirations. And if you are also interested in the Chinese traditional arts or culture, maybe we can do the research together in the future. Thank you so much.
We have time for a couple questions if anybody has any.
I love this topic. And so one of the questions I have for you is, it sounded like in terms of your suggestions about how to engage and improve brand recognition among, more globally, how do you think that arts managers can support and encourage sort of widening the interest of Peking opera, for example, in non-Chinese, dominant cultures?
As a short trailer I give to you, the video said that the Peking Opera want to develop itself as an international art forms. So as for arts managers, I think the target audience will be the first step for them to help the traditional performing arts to go out of our country and to the international, because maybe at first, like foreign audience they don't know the actual meaning of our traditional performing arts, like Peking opera. And in today's China, a lot of young people like me, sometimes I even can't understand the meaning of it. So I think there are two very important points. First is the target audience, and second is which arts manager should tell the basic knowledge and basic introduction to our young generation. Then we can do the further research in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Any other questions? I will come around and collect the cards for Yiying and the last one.
Thank you very much, Yiying. That was very interesting. Please join me in welcoming our second speaker of the day, Faten Hinnawi. Faten Hinnawi is pursuing her master's degree in graphic design at George Mason University. Faten graduated from King Abdulaziz University, Saudi Arabia, with a BS in computer science. However, her intrinsic interest in art led her to work at an advertising agency as a web developer, and eventually her talent to become an art director. This experience prompted her to pursue a degree in graphic design in the US and to begin to compare the differences between Saudi and Western web design culture. Faten's research is the beginning of a significant step of evolving the graphic design culture in Saudi Arabia, specifically with regard to brand identity for Saudi businesses. Today's topic from Faten is adapting the Western principles of designing brand identity by Saudi graphic designers. Please welcome Faten.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the multi-disciplinary colloquium, I would like to welcome you and thank you for having today. Today I'm in charge of presenting a significant step toward improving the graphic design culture in Saudi Arabia, precisely in graphic and brand identity. For this reason, I would like to discuss a problematic issue that exists in Saudi graphic design culture and suggest a new approach to solve this problem. Before digging deeply in my research, working in Saudi Arabia for almost 5 years in an advertising agency as a graphic designer is my motivation to start in my research. Because after experimenting the graphic design in the United States, especially in designing brand identity, I have started to see the differences between Saudi designs in the market and the Western ones. Then I have been asking, why are Saudi designers not successful in designing brand identities that gain the same level of success as international brands? So by investigating this question, it appears that Saudi graphic designers lack the foundation of designing brand identity due to the lack of arts and design in Saudi Arabia. So, as a quick review, 20 دقيقة من خلالها سيتم عرض خطوة البداية نحو تطوير التصميم الجرافيكي في المملكة العربية السعودية، لأن المصمم السعودي يفتقر إلى الإدراك للقواعد السليمة في تصميم الهوية التجارية بسبب عدم وجود تخصصات جامعية وتعليمية في هذا المجال، ولذلك سيتم طرح ومناقشة المجتمع الجرافيكي والمصمم السعودي بالأخص لتبني الإبداع الفكري الذي توصلت له الحضارة الغربية الهوية التجارية وكيفية تصميمها للقواعد والأسس الصحيحة لتشكل سمة مرئية مميزة وفريدة من بين جميع الهويات. So the first step in my research was identifying the problem based on Saudi designers and scholars' perspectives. I have found six articles that articulate the arts and design education in Saudi Arabia, as well as Saudi graphic designer in the Saudi market. Initially, according to Abdullah al-Hazim, he examined the art education in Saudi schools. Indeed, al-Hazim exposed that although arts education is required in all school levels, it's still undervalued and its importance is underestimated. Actually, he indicated that the Ministry of Education does not focus on curriculum planning, and our teachers rarely teach according to specific learning objectives. As well, Saudi society has no interest to involve the student in art activities because they think that Saudi students should focus on science disciplines to benefit their country. In addition to that, Sultan Ziyad, he adds that Saudi students in elementary and high school receive approximately 2 hours of classes per week. However, at the present time, art classes are no longer available in high school. Secondly, by examining the art education, in the higher level of education, it appears, according to Ziad, that these kind of schools did not exist till 1975. However, these days, only a few arts education programs exist in major universities in Saudi Arabia. As a matter of fact, Ziad underlined that these programs are small in size and focus more on educational aspects rather than art theories and art making. Meanwhile, speaking about graphic design major, it seemed that according to Athira Habib and Abdullah Zigay, that only two schools provide this major. One private college in Jeddah, Darul Hikmah College, that established the major in 2006, and one public university in Riyadh, Prince Noor University, that started the same major in 2011. Though, still by looking to their curriculum, Ziad affirmed that both programs lack the depth and breadth in coursework despite the fact of the way of teaching and practicing in the field. Thirdly, by investigating on the Saudi market level, Ziad revealed that when he was working in an advertising agency, that traditional Arabic calligraphy design that had been used in designing logos are no longer desirable in the market. Clients indeed demand contemporary design that requires strong graphic design background. But since the majority of designers like the foundation of graphic design, they tend to produce clutter and unpleasant design compositions. Indeed, according to Nafal Agalia, she exposes that most Saudi designers have their degree but not in graphic design, and they work in the field based on their talent, because studying graphic design as a degree is not acceptable in the Saudi society. In addition to that, Laman Guwaishan adds that advertising agencies are very limited and do not encourage the creativity. As well, they don't hire expert graphic designer to avoid paying high salaries. Apparently, all these designers and scholars have articulated that the lack of arts and design education cause unprofessional Saudi designers who have produced unsuccessful brand identity, which that negatively have impacted Saudi market and prevented some Saudi business to persevere among international competitors. On account of this, all these scholars and designers suggest that graphic design foundation has to become essential for designers to fabricate appropriate design for today's market. So, the second step is to find a solution for this issue. Actually, since I have experienced Western concept of designing successful brand identity, I therefore recommend that Saudi designer adopt the Western principle in designing brand identity in order to create an appropriate design for the Saudi market and allow recognition among international competitors. Now, in order to know what successful brand identity is from Western perspective, we can take a look at Starbucks. It's an example that illustrates a comprehensive meaning of brand identity, as well as we recognize from Starbucks. It's not only a logo. According to the interdisciplinary designer, Gray Lamson, great brand is a story, set of expectations, and relationships with customers, which make a product to be chosen over another. Additionally, according to Liane Elwood, she points out that designing a visual identity for brands is a way of communication with customers, differentiates business from other in the market, shapes company style, and increase business performance. Indeed, the concept of branding is being embraced by individuals and small business as a means to distinguish themselves among competitors. So, if you desire to start a business, you need to plan it, engineer it, craft it, refine it. All of them through the process. So, you may ask yourself, what is the process? And in order to answer this question, I would refer the answer to 5 Western graphic designers and scholars, Eliane Wheeler, Brent Lampson, Jacob Cass, David Early, and Ian Elwood, who all have agreed that in order to design successful brand identity, it requires 5 phases. Just to mention, because of the time, I will discuss them briefly. The first phase is conducting research about the new product or service. Designers should investigate brands, competitors, their position in the market, target audience, the value, vision, mission, and the benefits from that brand. By knowing the answers of all of these features, designers should start to write design brief that contains summary from research phase. After that, the designing identity phase starts. Actually, according to Brent Lampson, in this phase, logo should be designed. In fact, David Early affirmed that logo in terms to be effective among the other brands, it should be simple, memorable, timeless, versatile, distinctive, and appropriate. However, the logo is not enough. That's why creating touch points by having a unique visual identity is so important to have an effective brand identity, such as business card, letterhead, packaging, posters, website. All of them are some examples of the visual identity. According to Jacob Cass, visual identities are usually assembled with a logo of the brand and specific color palettes, specific typeface, and specific layout. These guidelines and implementation ensure that the identity of the company is kept coherent, which in return allows the brand as a whole to be recognizable. Lastly, according to Eliane E. Wheeler, after new brand identity has launched, it's important to monitor it and care for it. Regardless, over time, if market evolves, the identity should be rebranded. So, after reviewing these Western principles, let's go to the third step in my research. In this step, I will compare a real product from Saudi market and American market. So, I will let you decide after you see them. If Saudi designer should adapt the Western principle of design, the Western principle of designing brand identity into Saudi brands. Let's take a look to Saudi products that's been in the market competing with international one. And as you noticed, all of these, this is one company and this is one product, but still they don't have the same logo and the same identity. However, by comparing this product with Tazo Tea, it seems completely unsuccessful. It's important to mention that Tazo Tea redesigned all of their packaging recently. I strongly believe that they are very successful in design in accordance with Western principles. Even though they have a big variety in their products, still they look as a more common. They also expand their identity to reach globally by building a unique website. Not only that, they also opened their first store in Seattle, and significantly, the entire interior look of their store has the same, integrate the same style of their brand. So, as you may notice from these real examples, in both markets, should Saudi designer adapt Western principles in designing successful brand identity? Since this research is the beginning of solving a problematic issue in designing brand identity in Saudi Arabia, I would continue my research based in current findings by implementing the Western principles into an an existing and successful Saudi brand, then interviewing Saudi Designer Society, business founders, and Saudi graphic designer about the new design, then investigate the performance and the effectiveness of the new design. Ultimately, I, as a graphic designer, endeavor to sustain a better future for Saudi society that has started to value creativity. For that, I hope you and others appreciate my research. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and special thanks for my professors and my husband. Thank you.
We have time for a couple questions from the audience.
What do you foresee any barriers to in the Saudi design industry to implementing the Western principles?
Yeah, that's a good question, and this is my research because Western, because Saudi designers love art design education, Saudi, and they don't, in Saudi Arabia, they don't provide like this major, and they don't provide also classes to study graphic design. And I think a lot of design should be followed by specific guidelines and principles, and these all principles I have found it in the Western side. Yes?
To follow up on that question, you mentioned in your presentation that some companies may not want to invest in the cost of a highly qualified graphic designer who might be able to help bring their brand to the next level.
Yeah.
How do you think that with this knowledge or this research, you might be able to convince agencies to think differently about utilizing some of these principles and seeking folks that have these kinds of qualifications?
Yeah, this is also another step in my research by raising the awareness in society of the importance of graphic design, especially in brand identity. They will start see the differences between the international market and the Saudi market, and they change their mind about hiring expert graphic designers. And actually, in Saudi Arabia, a lot of like students like me, we traveled abroad to study graphic design, and we come back. We should come back to our country and evolve that field. Thank you. Yes.
Would you say that international brands are more successful in Saudi Arabia, like especially very well-recognized brands, are more successful in Saudi Arabia than actual Saudi Arabian brands?
Yeah, I can see that because, like, for example, Starbucks in Saudi Arabia is more successful than any coffee shop, and we are in this life. We appreciate creative and art, and usually we want to to enjoy ourselves by having these nice looking. And I think people would start looking for successful brands, especially in the designs.
Great. Thank you, Faten.
Thank you for that discussion, Faten. Our third presenter for today is Ziming Hao. Ziming Hao received his bachelor's degree from Tianjin Polytechnic University in telecommunications in 2011. During his undergraduate study, Ziming was accepted into the Laboratory for Electronic Design in the School of Electronics and Information Engineering and took part in the National Undergraduate Electronic Contest. Additionally, he has a year-long experience working as a network engineer at Tianjin Sumitomo Heavy MR China Co. Limited. Currently, he is a graduate student at George Mason University, majoring in telecommunications. His professional interests include network technology, network applications, and networks forensics and security, which will prepare him to become a network engineer. His topic today is network and security assessment perspectives on network security systems. Please welcome Ziming.
Thank you, Professor Steele. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today's conference. I'm Ziming. I'm very happy to share my secondary research that I conducted this semester. As a future international scholar, it is really important to be able to introduce expertise in different languages. So please allow me to begin with my bilingual summary. And I will give you guys a few minutes to read the English word of my bilingual summary while I'm reading the Chinese word.
此次演讲是关于通信工程中的网络安全领域，主题是希望建立一个能够指导网络安全的评估机制，并且涵盖管理和技术的层面。通过这个机制，可以解决现在网络安全评估机制主要注重于不同的维度和技术方面优化的问题。此次演讲会讨论现行安全评估的角度和优化措施，并且在将来的研究中，整体网络安全的有效性和可行性需要被讨论。Next presentation will be divided into four sections. The first section is the introduction to the network security area and my research question. And the second section is the diversity of assessment perspectives on network security systems. And the third section is convergent findings on assessment perspectives. And the last section is the future call for research, a proposed for a holistic framework. As I explained in my bilingual summary, my research is about network security. So in this section, I'm going to introduce network security a little bit and the generation of my research question. Besides the knowledge I gained from my undergraduate study, graduate study, and my working experience, I also attended my first professional conference in America this semester. Both the overall theme and the general theme contributes to my understanding of the network security area. The conference was held by Telecommunication Industry Association, and the overall theme of this conference was the future network, which aimed at demonstrating today's technology could not deal with varieties of challenges. And during the conference period, I also attended the cybersecurity section. The main presenters were from advanced enterprises in telecommunications field, such as AT&T and Verizon, as they claim the increasingly dependence on technology and information communication contributes to the rapid development of economy, technology, and civilization, etc. But besides that, it also creates a platform for attackers with different purposes. Research in this area will help to reduce this kind of threats and the establishment of a series of positive defensive mechanisms. In order to clarify my research field, I'd like to use an analogy of a network security system. This picture describes a car running on the road. When we try to evaluate the performance of a car, the very first thing we definitely would like to think about the quality of the car. For example, like the engine or maybe the gas consumption. But the driver's driving skill and the environment conditions are also very important factors. A network security system is just like a car running on the road. all the technical infrastructures, human-related operation, and external risks should be considered. In order to identify the issue in network security field, I did some research according to the historical works, present events, and the future role of George Mason's researcher. Definitely, scholars in telecommunications have done a lot to protect the personal and public information. For example, our library system, without George Mason University's authorization, none of us could read the whole passage of the academic articles. And for large organizations and enterprises, they all have their own firewall works. And for our personal computers, I think we all have certain level of defensive software, even if you don't have one. When you try to enter sensitive data into your computer, such as when you try to log in your bank account, your information is automatically protected by the bank's information system. And what is the result? Are we really secure? Just in October, New York Times and Twitter have become the latest victims of cyber attacks. Their servers were unavailable for hours, and their profits were compromised counting in millions. So as this kind of threats became more prevalent and attackers' skills are more advanced, George Mason University's researchers are at the forefront to reduce this kind of threats. Also in October, researchers in my department received a 6-year-long investment from federal government. So here is my research question. Is there a holistic framework that could provide an optimal evaluation mechanism? And in order to answer my main research question, there is also another 2 research questions. What are the current evaluation perspectives when a specialist try to evaluate a security system, and what are their optimization targets? And for the interest of time, my presentation will focus on the highlighted research question. What are the current evaluation perspectives when specialists try to evaluate a security system? After I read 10 articles in order to answer my research question, I found out all these scholars treat same concepts and characters as common knowledge. There are confidentiality, integrity, and availability, along with the final goal, security. Confidentiality means to grant the secrecy and privacy of the data in the system. Both the data stored in the system and the data in transmission should be concerned. And integrity means to keep the data in the system in its original status, which means to keep the data from modification from both authorized and unauthorized users. Availability means the system should be accessible by users at any time they need it. Without the guarantee of availability, the former 2 factors will be meaningless. Once we satisfy these 3 factors, we will reach the specific meaning of security in telecommunications. As Dr. Kiza claimed, security in telecommunications means a series of processes aimed at protecting objects from all kinds of unauthorized entities. In other words, it's a kind of feeling to be free from care, fear, or anxiety. Based on all these fundamental concepts, scholars in telecommunications also generated different kind of evaluation perspectives. As Dr. Kiza claimed, he divided the network system into tangible objects such as hardware sources and intangible objects such as data and information contained in the system. As Dr. McDonald claimed, he tried to evaluate the external risks and the internal vulnerabilities of a network security system. As I explained at first, we could treat a network security system as a car. I want to fuse this evaluation perspective into the car system. Dr. Kiza tried to evaluate the technical elements of the car, while Dr. McDonald aims at to evaluate the environment threats and the technical vulnerability of the car system. In addition, Dr. Fang and Tang claimed to analyze the technical alerts in history, while Dr. Wu claimed to treat all the IT elements as an entity to process the evaluation. Just recently, Dr. Hassel claimed, what if an attacker is already in the system and not being detected? So the survivability of a security system is also on the research list. To fuse this re-evaluation perspective into a car system, Dr. Fang and Tang aims at to evaluate the repairing history of a car. I mean, this may be perfect to evaluate a car, but for a network security system. As we all know, the attackers' skills are also developing. We may never experience the same kind of threats again. And Dr. Wu also claimed to evaluate all the technical elements of a car. But he, unlike Dr. Kiza, he treats all the elements, technical elements as an entity, since they are always interacting with each other. And Dr. Hassel, he aims at to evaluate the backplane. For example, like the airbag. If a car accident really happened, what is the percentage that the passenger in the car will survive? And based on the convergent findings of my reading, I found two limitations. The first one is they all focused on the different dimensions, but none of them have covered all the dimensions simultaneously. And they all focus on the optimization of technical elements, but physical measurement level is not sufficient, which will lead to the practical exigency. For example, if an organization doesn't consider its security issue as comprehensive as possible, its functionality will be compromised easily. In other words, its future operation and the profits will be destroyed easily. More importantly, the cyber attack may occur at any time when the attackers found out the system is vulnerable. And the managers should think about the implementation of positive defensive mechanisms as early as possible. And here is my future research call and my personal contribution possibilities. I propose a holistic assessment framework, guidelines for combining management and technical perspectives. Along with my proposal is the hypothesis. If a holistic assessment framework could work as guidelines that combine existing management and technical perspectives, how might that optimize the actual evaluation of the security system? And in order to prove that hypothesis, there are another two premises that need to be satisfied. The first is what is the effectiveness of the proposed hypothesis, and the second is what is the flexibility of the proposed hypothesis. If we could answer these two questions perfectly, we will reach my proposal of guidelines that combine management and technical perspectives. And this is my presentation today. And at last, I'd like to thank you again for my professor's help, my Brit scholars' help, and my fellow support. And thank you for all you guys attending.
Any questions for Ziming?
I thought external computer, there are always a lot of updates, security information, which makes me very confusing. So, because I always hate to update this security information, so do you think how to solve these problems?
That's really an interesting question, but based on my knowledge, the most constructive recommendation that I could give is when you have this kind of notification, it indicates your system has flaws. If you don't update them, your system is vulnerable. Thank you.
Ziming, I'm curious, now that you've been going through more of your coursework and you have experience out in the professional world as well, do you think that there's enough of the management side that's being taught in telecommunications to effectively balance that technical side along with the management side? Or do you think there needs to be more management that's taught as a part of this process?
Yeah, that's also the question I'm thinking about. I really think we don't do enough in that field because it's kind of like personal motivation. Like I'm a technical guy. I definitely not interested in the manager level, and I'm pretty sure people in management level they don't interested in the technical part. So I think that's the problem.
Thank you, Ziming. Once more, a very interesting performance there. We now welcome Yinru Chen. Yinru Chen is an arts management student at George Mason University. Before joining Mason, Yinru was a music performance student at Ziming University in China, where she received a bachelor's degree in 2012. As an intern at Ziming TV station, she caught the first glimpse of practical arts management. There, Yinru discovered that she is much more interested in promoting the performing arts in China than in focusing on the popular media. Therefore, combining her education background and arts appreciation, Yinru's research focused on U.S. marketing development strategies for the performing arts and on what Chinese arts managers could learn from U.S. approaches. Her topic today is Western classical music development in China, expanding diverse audiences through outreach. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Yinru Chen. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Today I'm going to speak out marketing strategies for Western classical music development in China. This is very important in our discipline. In here, Western classical music is referred to in this presentation means orchestra and symphony. I will give everyone overview my presentation. Now I will speak Chinese. 随着互联网和媒体的发展，电视选秀节目占据着大多数人的生活，这加速了对西方古典音乐的影响。超级女声，一档类似于美国偶像的中国选秀节目，在中国拥有着非常高的收视率和网络点击率。由此可见，流行音乐已经深入人心。然而，随着互联网和流行音乐的双重影响，在中国欣赏古典音乐的人依旧在少数。在中国，大多数交响乐团没有注重发展普通的观众。作为文化产业的一部分，管弦乐队目前服务的只是特定的专业人群，从而导致流失了一般的观众。这个演讲主要集中在探索关于建立多样的观众和音乐教育项目的乐团营销计划。Here is my agenda. I'll divide my presentation in 5 main parts. The first is course of history in Western classical music, and second is current situation of Western classical music development in China. And then is a problem, experience, and key challenge. And then is definition and basic model. Finally is my recommendation and strategy. In China, the development of Western classical music have a relative obviously stage. At first, in the 1930s, Western classical music was represented by first simply come to China. In 1956, Chairman Mao states a policy of making the past serve the present and make the following things serve China, which indicates direction of future Chinese towards foreign cultures. Moreover, during the policy of reform and having up, the Central Ministry of Culture has put forward a policy of that the government should support Western classical music development in China. Meanwhile, most of provinces and cities in China, they began to set up local Western orchestra and symphonies, which brought great booms in Western classical music development. And then in 1980s, along with the depend of Chinese reform, international relations and cultural development, a growing number of people like to listen pop music, and they like the popular culture. Sadly, at the same time, Western classical music is being squeezed out of the whole music industry in China. The famous Chinese conductor Long Yu thinks Western classical music still at very beginning stage, which still needs 1 or 2 generation development. And he thinks classical music penetration in China is just 5%. That 5% just means hundreds of millions of teenagers are enrolled in Western instruments classes. So I think the core challenge in China is lacking a good marketing plan to expand diverse audience. You can see there's 3 different ways to support this idea. First, compared to the pop music, a declining Western classical music show results Western classical music gets away from general public. Secondly, the area of instant information, popular culture like pop music, still seek continued innovation to be better satisfy its audience needs. On the contrary, Western classical music is always the same. So, thirdly, most important disinterest in classical music due to a lack of music education. In fact, lack of music education is a huge problem for building a loyal audience. Therefore, what kind of audience and how many of them should potentially consider in the marketing plan is extremely important for orchestras to sustain themselves. Now, let's turn back to check how the audience are interested in Western classical music in China. Look at this chart. The famous scholar Anderson, he states that the basic model for expanding audience for performing arts rests on a simple premise, becoming involving the arts is not one-step process, but is a progress through 6 stages, which we call the performing arts adoption process. These 6 stages to examine how the people interested in classical music. Here is the definition for each stage. On the left side, we can see the disinterest and trail adoption. These three different stages reflect people not attend concert in the last year, but they didn't interest in attending more often. And on the right side, interesting, positive evaluation, and confirmation. These three stages reflect that people are interested in attending Western classical music more often. While how the people distribute of this sixth stage in China, as you can see, this table shows the distribution of entire sample across the sixth stage in China. If almost one half the sample is in disinterest stage, and only 22% people they are interested in attend Western classical music. So it almost 70% of sample was at very beginning stage of the performing arts adoption process. While this may seem discouraging at first glance, the fact of 22% of sample at interest stage suggests significant potential audience who interested in concert but never attended. So this stage makes the orchestra and arts manager to how to expand their audience. How can we encourage this 22% to take part in classical music conference? I summarize 3 different factors which will influence classical music events attendance. Their education and leisure lifestyle characteristic and individual characteristic. According to this chart, education by state and model, we can see the education have a positive influence for classical music attendance. First, we can see parents and individuals have parents who encourage them to take arts classes or taking classes as adults. There is a clear increase at high level stage, such as like a confirmation. So therefore, education program is it can makes people more possibility stay high level like confirmation. So education is a smart way to build a loyal audience for orchestra. And according to this chart, individuals were characterized into 6 life circle grouping based on their age, marital status, and whether they have children and the age of the children. The young people, marriage but no children, and old people, they may not be particularly good prospect for program intended to increase attendance. Look at interest chart to the confirmation. In fact, at home indicates decreased attendance but not interest. It may children impose increased cost if they are taken along or if the babysitter to need. And look at this chart. I divide 4 different active leisure lifestyle groups. We can see the active sports and the passive homebody, they have a negative, positive to attendance, while the social, active, and the culture groups, they have a positive influence for the attendance. Therefore, as we can see, different people have their different lifestyles, which will influence classical music concert attendance. So the data strongly in the lifestyle, education, and individual characters are used for variable. I divided the audience into 2 categories. One is they already attend one or two concerts but not interested. We call these people incident spectators. The other is people who are interested in classical music concert. This kind of people also is a core audience for orchestra to development. There are two different marketing strategies. One is transactional marketing and another is relationship marketing. So for the transactional marketing, I recommend, here's my recommendation. I think in the event drive marketing, because I read the article, I found a qualitative study show that several audience buy tickets because of the special events such as New Year concert or Christmas concert. So therefore I think it's a good way the orchestra should apply events drive marketing skills and could make use of these events in targeting audience. And second is mass communication. Orchestra and symphony should use various mass media to increase chance that their consumer become, for example, a growing number of young people, they like online booking. They provide email address. It could be info with general information about the performance. And the relationship marketing, I recommendation education. As I mentioned before, education, they have a positive influence attendance. So people who receive several years as education, which possibilities stay at a high level stage. So I think design a specific program together with the right communication with the parents and children is a good way to increase attendance. And second is primary products. In my opinion, I think orchestra can set up more programs like chart and seminar and interview performer directly after performance to keep contact with their core audience and make them become loyal audience. Thank you. Thank you for coming here today. Is there any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. It's very nice. I know from my own experience living in other countries that attending classical concerts is often much more affordable than it is in the United States. I'm curious about in China, is it expensive to attend a classical concert?
Yes, that is a really good question. As I say, I have an example for the Philadelphia Orchestra. They have frequently go to China, and the top tickets is sold about $300. While this is very expensive for most of the Chinese people, but their top tickets is still sold out. So we can see the Chinese conception of this. So as I can say, how the arts management should target the general audience. So there is a different methods like student tickets or some free concerts to serve the public or the public school.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Now we welcome the last but not least presenter of today's presentation, who would be Yanjia Zhang. Yanjia received her bachelor's degree in 2008 in economics management from Beijing Forestry University in China. From 2008 to 2010, Yanjia worked in Beijing Yiying Dong Zing Businesses Company Limited as a sales and marketing analyst. After analyzing marketing models, Yanjia became very interested in statistics. Thus, she decided to pursue her master's degree in statistics at George Mason University. As she becomes more involved in a community of statisticians, in her graduate program, Yanjia is becoming increasingly interested in how to visualize complex data in statistical graphs. Her presentation today is on effectively presenting statistical data to audiences, principles in improving graphs. Please say hello to
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yanjia Zhang. It's my pleasure to do this presentation for you. My research topic is effectively presenting statistical data to audience, principles for improving graphs. My research summary in Chinese is 由于各学科越来越多的应用统计学，向有着不同学科背景的听众解读数据成为了一个难题。正因为如此，统计学者着眼于统计图形来和听众交流。演示者分析了一些统计图形的困境和不足的文章，希望在此基础上能够总结一些普遍的原则，用于创建简洁易懂的统计图形，以便更好地吸引更多的观众参与讨论。Have you ever spent too much time on reading graph in an article, trying to understand what it means? Have you ever gone to a conference and been disappointed when the presenter slides with graphs were presenting too fast for you to catch the main ideas? As a graduate student in statistics, I ask myself, is there something that statisticians can do to improve the graphs to audience that can obtain more information correctly and quickly from the graphs? With this question, I conducted this research to discuss how to effectively creating a well-designed graph. Today, I would like to briefly introduce my research from three parts: the background information in statistical visualization, three aspects of improving graphs, including choosing graphic models and software, and also identifying the target audience. And at the end, I will also mention some limitations of the research and future research goals. Before I introduce the statistical visualization, I'd like to introduce information visualization first, because many people feel confused about those two. Information visualization is the study of the visually representing data, presenting of abstract data to reinforce human cognition. The abstract data will include numerical and non-numerical information, such as text and geography information. The left picture will give an example of the information visualization. It gives a close look of a structure. And the statistical visualization, also called the statistical graphic is different. It displays the data points as directly as possible. It's an improvement of our version of table. The right image is an example of the statistical visualization. It shows the comparison of different groups and the difference in one group. The biggest difference between them is that the statistical visualization gives a user comparison and the data models to communicate with the audience, gives the information of the data itself. And the information visualization gives the audience an overall information of the data and the text. It can be any type of the display. My research goal is to focus on statistical visualization and to explore ways to improve statistical graphics for audience. Let's begin by looking at these two simple graphs, which comes from my own statistical design. First, notice the pie chart is a bad chart. The comparison is not clear enough because the colors and the edges are not easily to do the comparisons. Also, there's too much text around the charts, and the appearance is ugly that cannot attract readers' attention. A good graphic has 4 characteristics. Look at the line graph. Notice the appearance is simple and the comparison should be accurate. Also, it only provides the necessary context to provide the information of the data. And also, it is easier for viewers to understand. After introducing those background information, I would like to discuss the way of improving statistical graphs. There are three aspects I'd like to introduce. There are choosing graphic models, choosing software, and identifying the target audience. Since I will focus on the graphs, I'm assuming the data model selected as appropriate. First, let's start with the graphic models. And the graphic models are variety, and the information in one graph is limited. And also the emphasis in one graph is different, such as those two different types of graphic model. The first one is focused on the time, the change over time, and the second one of emphasis the difference among the different areas. Now, so it is necessary to choose an appropriate graph to deliver the correct information to audience intentionally. Take the previous bad design, for example. Since there are 8 categories in each group and some percentage of the categories are very close, so it's not a good idea to take the pie chart to do the comparison. So let's look at the line chart. It's obviously easier to do the comparison of the pair groups and also for each categories. Thus, how to choose an appropriate graphic model? I think there can be 3 steps. First, identify the spatial data model, and relied on that model to create your graph with your purpose, and also use the basic guidelines I mentioned before. After select the graphic model, let's move to the second aspect, so choosing software. Software is with the development of the technique, there's more and more new tools can be used in statistics such as SAS, SPSS, and R. But the outcomes from different software and even are not the same. Even different from packages in one software. The packages means that different categories in one software. These three graphs created by the same dataset but use different categories in R. The first one is using the standard graph formula, and the second one is use the latest package in R. The third one is use ggplot2 packages in R. It is clear to see that there's a little bit difference among them, and how to deal with this. Some scholars suggest that we can improve the software to fix this problem, but it will take a long time to do this. So I think that if we can choose some frequently used, most familiar packages and software to create the graph, because they are very recognizable, such as this line graph. I used latest to design. Choosing graphic model and software are two steps which consider from data structure to create an appropriate graph. However, it is also important to consider the target audience. As you know, statistics is more and more likely to intersect other disciplines, so the audience with different background is a big challenge for statisticians to communicate with. They have the different ways to interpret graphs, especially the non-technical audience. And according to Martin's study in 2005, different types of audience have different familiar type of graphs. His research discovers that students are more likely to use bar graph, histograms, and pie charts, while his industry personnel are familiar with the bar graph and the pie chart. This reminds me to use the most familiar type of the graph to create the graph to communicate with audience, to catch their eyes and communicate with them easily. For non-technical audience, I suggest to use histogram, bar graph, and line graph. I don't suggest pie chart because they are difficult to make a comparison between their categories, such as I showed before. Now I have outlined the three aspects to consider measuring statistical data. It's important for me to acknowledge that the research still has some limitation, such as no clear standard rules for good graphs and lacking the semantic study, and also the most techniques relied on computer science. This makes a gap between scientists and between statisticians and the usage of the software. And also communicating with the non-technical audience is still a big challenge for statisticians. Fortunately, there are some potential solutions, such as conducting more research on statistical graphics, working in interdisciplinary teams compares with statisticians, computer scientists, and designers, and also consider new approaches to visually communicate statistical data to non-technical audience. I'm looking forward to continue my research, trying to address some of these limitations and develop some new solutions throughout my graduate study at George Mason. Thank you for your time, and I'm ready to take some questions. You mean which aspect there are some?
So what's the principles or the goals to better to let the audience better understand, or what aspects you pay attention to better design graphs in visualization?
I considered it from three aspects, from the graphic models and the software, also the audience. So the principle for these three aspects, I think from the first one, graphic models, it should be based on your data structure and your purpose. And then the software, I think choosing the familiar one will be the better solution for to create a well-designed graphic. And also, as I mentioned, that different audience has a different familiar type of the graph. So it should be consider your audience to create your graph.
You're taking a class in visualization. And so a lot of this research is what you're discussing in your class, is that right? And the study that you incorporated here, is that from the same class or from a different class where you were doing your statistical analysis?
I take a case for example here, such as the bad graph and the good graph. It's my redesign project from my statistics 663 class, and the others is I read articles and connect the information.
Wow, how do you all feel? Great. I want to ask those of us in the audience who are not presenters today if you still remember your first conference presentation. For the most part, right? So maybe today will stay with you for many years and you will remember this experience. You should all feel very proud. And we are so proud of you. I just wanted to draw attention to a couple of things. You are international scholars, and we talked about this at the beginning, we've talked about this all year. But we also sit here and listen to your presentations and think about the curiosity that you started with, the courage to explore those questions, to learn, and to rethink things and propose new ideas. I heard you all mention things like you proposed new principles new frameworks, new approaches, new combinations. And that is the work of scholars, and that is the work that you're doing already. So good job. Also, I wanted to note the applied part of what you're doing. You are really trying to engage the world in an interesting way. You're looking at design. In fact, I'm sorry, I'm not looking at you. You're looking at design, but you're thinking about education, and you're thinking about business. And you're looking at statistics, but you're thinking about communication. And you're thinking about, what are some of the other, technology, but also marketing, arts and marketing, right? So all of this interdisciplinary space where you're thinking about things in complicated ways and in ways that the rest of the society looks at those things too, not just from your field's perspective, but kind of in a community sense of what it means to have that field in society generally. And so I think that that work is so important and so helpful for your field, but for the rest of us as well. So thank you for making connections. It's really important.
I just want to say that we are very, very, very proud of you, Faten, and some of you who were even more nervous than the others and were able to stand up and do this. And I just feel so proud to see that you've done it, and you've done an amazing job. And not only in one language, but in 2 or 3 languages, functioning at the same time. That is not anything that most of us in this room do. So you should be so proud of yourself, and you're completely ready to go and do a conference presentation at your conference next year, Ziming, the one that you attended. You will be ready always to present. So good job. We're really